let's talk about prison escapes. So I was locked up for 19 years, and over that time, we had people try to escape. We had one person successfully escape. We had a lot of people fail really terribly. We even had one guy get out and come back. So J Baby was at Nottoway with me, and he had successfully escaped and been away for about 5 years. But his best friend, his stick man inside, he always promised, "I will come back and get you." So he was living in Mexico, like on the run for these years, and he decided to come back, and he got caught. So then he had worked his way back through the system. I mean, he had now been like involved in the criminal system or on the run for like 25 years. So he was like, all right, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to make it out. And he'd gotten older. He'd kind of lost his edge. So he was trying to escape one night from Nottoway. And literally the guard was doing rounds around the prison and saw some guy like hanging off the side of the fence where he had thrown a blanket over the razor wire and was trying to climb over, and just reached up there, grabbed him by the belt and pulled him down and then locked him up. And we were all kind of heartbroken because he was a good guy. Like, he ran this huge gambling pool. Everybody liked him. He got along with everybody, and everybody respected him because he had like come back for somebody he said he was going to come back for. It was one of the biggest things in prison. Is guys were like, "Man, I'm never going to forget you," and then as soon as they hit the gate, they never, show up. That was one of the reasons it was so important for me to go back and speak at the prison or stay in contact with the guys or continue to do advocacy work, because I want to let people know that they're not forgotten. Because I think not being forgotten and being seen and being heard is a big part of what allows people to be successful. It gives them a sense of hope. It gives them a sense of, moving forward rather than just being stuck in that place forever. So the other one is Buckingham and Dillwyn are right across the street from each other in Buckingham County. So Dillwyn is a low security prison, or it's a level 2 out of 5. Buckingham is a 3-4. I think it used to be a 3-4, now it's a 4, but it was a 3-4 when I was there. So all the guys that were local to that area wanted to go from the 3-4 down to the 2 if they had to get transferred. So this guy got gotten over there, and I mean, it's like super open. It's not a very secure institution. Like, they have little golf carts that run around the camp. Like, it's a bizarre thing after you've been in a major institution. But we had a guy who managed to escape. He made it to the fence. He climbed the fence. He managed to, like, basically get his fingers in the razor wire. I guess he was trying to pull it down with a shirt or something, but, like, gnarly tore his hands up, did whatever, and then managed to get all the way to Richmond, which is, like, 100 miles. Like, I don't know how he got to Richmond. I don't know if he got a ride. Like, I don't know what they ever figured out in the investigation. But he gets to Richmond, and 8 hours later, they find him, like, bandaged all to hell in his mom's basement or his mom's crawl space. And it's like, dude, you ended up losing several fingers and being away for 8 hours. Like, what was the goal here? Would you, like, what made sense? Because people do that. They, like, get out and they go straight to their family's house, or they get out and go do something else. Because people have this idea that, like, you can get out of prison and be on the run and things will be great. But unless you have a plan like J Baby did, like, unless you have a place to go, unless you have resources, unless you have something set up, or unless you're going to get out and just continue to commit crimes, which kind of defeats the whole purpose because you're going to get caught, like, people don't know what they're doing. People have this idea of getting out of prison and everything's going to be okay. So if you've ever seen the movie Cool Hand Luke, so everybody always talks about that as an inspiration. From the perspective of a prisoner, that's a really sad movie. That's a guy who repeatedly gains his freedom and doesn't know what to do with it, so he comes back. And that's kind of the story of the criminal justice system. That's the story of prisoners that I saw. They were people that could gain their freedom, but didn't know what to do with it, so they would come back. Guys would fight and try to stay out of trouble and do everything they could, and then get out and realize they didn't have any of the skills they needed. They were better at being in prison than they were at being on the street, because prison teaches you how to be better at being in prison, and that's the problem. So we also had the really crazy escape attempt at Nottoway, where the two guys took the cherry picker, which is this like scissor lift, and they tried to run over the fences with it. And it was not going to work. Like, it was not going to go anywhere. And so it like half bowed the fence out, and all the guards started running, and the attack dogs got let loose, and it was just this insane situation. And yeah, it wasn't a good situation, because even if they had got over, even if they had managed to tilt the scissor lift over the fence, where were they going to go? They were in Nottoway County, Virginia, like not near anything. They didn't have any resources. They didn't have any help. They were just driven to that point. It was a sense of desperation and hope and maybe things will be better. But people don't think about it, and people don't plan, and we unfortunately don't have a plan within the system. Like, if we were planning to help people succeed when they get out, if we were giving people tools they need to succeed when they get out rather than making them better prisoners, I think we'd have a lot more success stories. We wouldn't have people doing these desperate things to try to escape. We wouldn't have people doing these kind of crazy things. We had a guy do a walk away from a work camp. So a work camp is where you literally, like, you go out on the road every day, you, like, cut down trees, you clean up the road, you do whatever, and the escape is a walk away. You're out on the road. Like, nobody's watching you, you just walk away. And he walked away because he wanted to go to his mother's funeral. And they had said, okay, well, we're going to approve you, but we're not sure. Or anyways, so they'd said they were going to do it, and he was like, well, fuck it, I'm going to go early. Like, I'm going to figure out a way to get there, and then I'm just going to stay. So he went. His mother had died while he was in. He hadn't gotten to do a bedside visit. This is like 2 days before the funeral. And sure enough, they just waited for him at the funeral. He came in just like they thought he would. He went to the funeral, and then they took him back to prison, and he got 5 years for that. I mean, he escaped from prison and got 5 years. And they probably would have allowed him to go to the funeral, but in many cases, like when my dad died, I wasn't allowed to go to the funeral or to the memorial service or anything. So I understand why he maybe didn't trust the process or why things were bad. But you look at the situation where this guy's now back in prison for years, when really all we had to do is figure out how to facilitate this grief, right? He's clearly not a danger. He's out on the street every day. There's no reason to turn this down. In fact, as we start looking at this, like, I'm not even really sure why we keep people incarcerated in this situation. We're paying all of this money to hold this guy and have a secure facility with guards and officers, and it just doesn't make any sense anymore. So during COVID, the Charlottesville-Alabama Regional Jail did this experiment because they were like, hey, we can't keep all these people in the jail because this is unsafe because of COVID conditions. So they released a ridiculous amount of people under home management, or what do you call it, GPS management, or like home monitoring. And what they found was, of the, I think it was like 110 people they released in 1 week or 2 weeks, not a single person came back. So these people were being held in the jail at an incredible expense to the city and the county, and yet none of them were reoffending. Like, we essentially weren't holding people that were dangerous. We were just holding people because that's the tradition of what we've been doing, and we have to wonder about that. Like, before I got out of prison, I was ineligible to go to a work center or go to work release because I was a dangerous, violent criminal. But the day I got out, I'm out in the world with no supervision, no step down, no anything. It doesn't make sense. So if we want people to succeed, we need to be moving everybody. Like, if you're going to be released, you need to be stepped down from a major institution to a work center to work release to a halfway house to freedom. So that way you get this gradual increase in freedom. Because if somebody isn't safe 6 months before he's going home, but 6 months after and the day he goes home, he's like, okay, this doesn't make sense. We're not using resources wisely. We're not preparing people for success. We don't have state-run halfway houses. Like, we have people getting out of prison right now, and there's a guy trying to get out in August. Well, he's getting out in August. He's trying to find a bed. There's not a single halfway house bed in Virginia until January, is what they told him. So they're like, sorry, like, we literally have nowhere to put you. You're going to be homeless. Because the Department of Corrections doesn't run halfway houses. They contract with people who run halfway houses, some of whom are absolutely amazing and provide services and safe and healthy environments, other ones who are incredibly corrupt and exploitive and not healthy places to be. So if the Department of Corrections, rather than spending $30,000 a year to house somebody in a secure facility, were to open halfway houses in cities all over the state and say, hey, we're going to transition people down to these halfway houses, and we're going to make sure they have jobs, and we're going to transport them to work, and then we're going to take a quarter or half of that money to pay for the operation, not only would people be getting the skills they need to get ready, not only would they then have money to put a deposit on an apartment or the things they need getting out, but it would pay for itself. It is a socially, humanitarian,